3.1, points, lines, and planes. So we have three different kinds of lines. Their names are segments, rays, and lines. So a segment has a starting point and an ending point. Okay? And we list those like this. That's how you name a segment. A ray has a starting point and then it goes forever in some direction. And then you would name it like this with an arrow on one side. And then a line actually has arrows on both sides. And we would name that with an arrow on both sides. You guys understand that? Okay, let me pull over the assignment. All right. So here, you're going to pick, is it a line, array, a segment, and then in that box, you'll have to build the name. So this one would be TU, and you'd have to choose the figure that had the arrows on both sides. All right, look at number 2. So the instructions in number 2 say, in the figure below, A, E, F, and C are all in plane X. B and D do not lie on plane X. So FC and blank are distinct lines that intersect. So what line intersects FC? So you could name this line, it's this one right here. You can name it all sorts of things. It can be BC, or it can be CD, or BD, or you could even flip them around so that you get the other version. Okay, so you could DB would also work. Okay. B, blank, and blank are distinct points that are collinear. What do you think collinear means? What does collinear mean? They all are in a straight line. They all lie on the same line. So what points are collinear to B? C and D. Okay. So we call this plane plane X, but another way to name a plane is to name 3 points that are in that plane. If I just pick 2 points, how many planes go through those 2 points? So how many ways are there to get a piece of paper to touch those 2 points? An infinite amount. If I were to paint 2 dots on the ground touches it, but I could get a piece of paper. So if I had dots on the floor, I could get a piece of paper that touched the dots here. Right, all of those planes would touch those 2 dots. So in order to define a plane, you need 3 points. So you could say plane AEF or AFC or CFE. Any combination of those 4 points in the plane would work. Okay? And then E, blank, blank, and blank are distinct points that are coplanar. So coplanar means that those points lie in the same plane. Okay. What does congruent mean? Same size and shape. Okay? So would those triangles be congruent? Yes, they're exactly the same. They've been rotated, but they're exactly the same. What about the circles? No, they're the same shape, but they're not the same size. Okay, those rectangles? Nope, they're the same shape, but not the same size. And then obviously a pentagon and a trapezoid are not congruent. Okay. So here you have to match the term with the definition. So the definition, the first definition says intersecting lines that form right angles. What do we call lines that form right angles? Are they angle, circle, perpendicular lines, parallel, line segment, congruent, collinear, or coplanar? If two lines make a right angle, we call those lines perpendicular. So the answer to that one would be perpendicular. Lines that belong to the same plane and never exist. Or never exist. Never intersect. What do we call it when two lines are in the same plane but they never touch? Parallel. Okay. A part of a line consisting of two endpoints and all the points in between. What do we call a line that has a start and an end? Not a line, a segment. And then belonging to the same plane would be coplanar. Okay? So let's talk for a second about parallel. What is the definition of parallel? And some of you are working ahead. You might want to listen to this. What does parallel mean? Okay, two lines that go forever and never touch. Can planes be parallel? Yeah, the floor and the ceiling are parallel. They go forever and they never touch. Okay, but with lines you have to be a little bit more careful. So this line and this line are parallel. But that's in two dimensions. Both of those lines are resting on the page. Okay? What if I had like a cube what if I were talking about this line here and this line here? So if we made those go forever, are those lines ever going to touch? Think of a cube. So, like my speaker right here. So this line here and this line here, will they ever intersect? No. Are they parallel? It depends on what we define as parallel. So parallel means they're in the same plane and they never touch. So on my speaker, these two lines right here, they belong to the same side and they never touch. They kind of stay the same distance apart. Those are parallel. Okay? But there are lines that don't touch, but they don't remain the same distance apart. We call those lines skew. Skew lines. So if the lines can be drawn on the same piece of paper and they don't touch, we call them parallel. If they're not on the same piece of paper and they don't touch, we call them skew. Okay. That might be it. So skew lines in this case. So this kind of goes through the center of that paper. Will it ever touch this line here? So we kind of have a line that goes through the paper, and then we look at this edge of the paper here. They're never going to touch. But they're also not parallel, so we would call those skew. Okay, I think that's it. Get to work.